Hey there, it's the Board Game Bandit with another episode of One Gamer's Journey, where I take a personal look at games that have been in my collection for a long time and see how they've evolved over time. This week is going to be drastically different from anything else I've done before, so I ask that you bear with me. I've named this video intentionally Untitled, because every good title I came up with would spoil the point of this video. I needed to establish a lot of context before I get to the actual crux of this week's topic, so I ask for your patience while I set the stage. I encourage you to listen all the way to the end and to leave comments on your own experiences. I only ask that you avoid spoiling the topic for others. I love playing strategy games so much that it sometimes leads to a misconception about me, that I don't like party games or lighter games, all of which is false. I just happen to prefer the games that I consider to be more intellectually stimulating, but my interests are extremely far-ranging. I also have specific gaming circles that highlight different areas of my interests. I tend to play more of my gateway games at work with my coworkers. I have a weekly game night on Thursday at a bar where it's a little bit of everything. My personal gaming group meets at least once a month where we have a chance to play more weighty games since it's just us. And I try to have a teaching event at least once per month, preferably more, although I have a pretty packed schedule between a full-time job, 2 YouTube channels to support, and spending quality time with my wife, friends, and family. Specifically, I don't have as much of an opportunity to hang out at gaming stores as I'd like. I intentionally go to a bar on Thursdays because it gives me a wider perspective on the assimilation of gaming overall. I have some great friends who work with or for game stores, and I love what they are doing to promote the hobby recently. Special shout out to the people at Game Theory in Raleigh. But I would argue that a different type of person walks into a game store than a casual game night in a bookstore or a bar. I meet a lot of different people in my walk with gaming, and I often hear two particular archetypes. For many people, they just like being social and they don't care about games, but it's a way to facilitate being social. On the opposite side of the spectrum, there are many who tell me that they just like playing games for the sake of games and they don't enjoy being social. It just happens as a consequence of gaming. And then there's me, where I believe that the two are intertwined and indistinguishable. I want to make lasting memories of games, memories where the players of that game are wholly integrated and impossible to remove. Hopefully, my gaming group knows that they are like family to me and how much I appreciate our time and experiences together. This context should solidify that I care very much about the people and the games I play with them, and I recently began asking myself this question: what game have I played with the single, same opponent more than anyone else? I rarely have opportunities to play two-player games anymore, and that's a shame because there are some great games in that category, but it is an interesting question for me nonetheless. I think the game and the person would surprise most people. Obviously, the passage of time is going to be a key determinant of this answer. Since I buy more games every year, I add more members to my gaming group, meaning that I diversify my players, and I have less time to play games overall. Although I enjoyed playing games with my brothers growing up, I don't particularly come from a gaming family, and only in recent years have my efforts of indoctrination begun to take effect. Since I didn't log my plays until 2018, I don't have an exact scientific answer, but I know based on feeling and memory that if my answer isn't number 1, it's definitely in the top 3. My friend Daniel and I have played a lot of Smash Up at lunch, so that may have overtaken this answer, but it's still of note. So what's the answer? Let me give you some hints first. The game is a Spiel des Jahres winner, meaning it won Game of the Year. It supports up to 4 players and takes roughly 30 minutes to play. It did not originate in the United States, but did become a #1 bestseller in the United States, and it has international acclaim. Care to guess what the game is? If you're thinking Catan or Dominion, you'd be wrong. Instead, the game is Rummy Cube. Yep, Rummy Cube is a Spiel des Jahres winner, look it up. And the opponent is my grandmother. There really isn't anything special about Rummy Cube. To date, it has an average rating of 6.31 on BoardGameGeek and is ranked 1534, which is pretty decent actually. It's an abstract game with few rules and very few strategies. The game is about execution and visualizing moves more than anything else. But my grandma would play it every Monday night at her community, and even before that, it was a game that she enjoyed. So she taught me when I was young, even before her Monday night routine was part of her life. And as far as I can recall, she never really played the game with any of my other brothers. I can't say about my cousins either, but I suspect she didn't, and as far as I could tell, this was our special activity. Growing up, I have 3 very vivid gaming memories, but this was my only 2-player experience. It was just my grandmother and myself, and that made it special. My grandmother was a very sharp, smart woman, one of the nicest you would have ever met. All she ever wanted was to spend time with her cherished family. My grandfather died when I was in 5th grade, and my mom's parents died before I was born, so she was the primary formative grandparent I had. With my grandmother, I cannot tell you how excited I was to play Rummy Cube with her every chance I could. I almost always won, and she would still play with me. I even played with 2 of her friends once and wiped the floor with them, and it didn't seem to matter. I sometimes wonder what it must have been like for her, as my intelligence was growing rapidly as I grew up, whereas she began to lose a little bit of hers. She used to get annoyed sometimes when I would have very few tiles on the board, and then I would rearrange all of hers, playing all of my remaining tiles in a single turn and winning. And when I say remaining tiles, I mean a board full of tiles. She even asked me to stop doing that, but we continued to play regardless. Over the years, we played less and less, part of which was due to me not spending as much time with her as I should have, but she also began to lose interest as she got older, which I now understand. Eventually, I went away to college and didn't see her as often, particularly when she had live-in aides. She ended up passing away when I was 23, and we probably hadn't played for years at that point. It doesn't matter though. The game is forever ingrained in my memory with her. I still have a copy of Rummy Cube in my collection, and I'm not certain where it came from. Maybe it was hers and I inherited it. Maybe I bought my own copy. Maybe she bought it for me as a gift. I don't even have the rulebook anymore, and it's possible I was taught the game incorrectly and just never knew it. I play maybe once or twice a year, and I do have to go out of my way to play it. But every time I look at that box, more than any other game in my collection, my thoughts immediately go to her. Because what is Rummy Cube? It's not just a game. It was the game I played with my grandmother, and it was our only real way of connecting. It's what has stuck with me all these years. After my grandfather died, I remember helping my grandmother move into the home where she would spend the rest of her life. I can recall playing with the toys in her closet and seeing Rummy Cube there, knowing that it was our game together, and there were some other games there as well. I remember seeing a small wooden box that contained a tiny chess set and not being particularly careful with it. My dad yelled at me for being careless with the set, and I remember saying these words to him: "Dad, I've never seen you play chess once." And then he said something that has stuck with me after all these years. But that was my father's chess set. And that is entirely the point. We don't invent games just for the mathematical exercise of inventing the game, which, I can tell you from personal experience, is excruciating, balancing everything and trying to perfect the formula of a new game. We create games to play them with others, and as a result, we can form lasting memories where the game becomes synonymous with the person. Through the game, we hold on to a part of the people we spend our lives with, and they are never truly gone. This is definitely true for Rummy Cube and for my grandma, and even if I never play the game again, it will always remind me of her, and I'll never be able to get rid of the game. I wish all of my games can have the same success in the end. I'm the Board Game Bandit. My grandma's game may be over, but our game has just begun.